They say opposites attract.
Well, how about these opposites? Daddies and sons.
You're listening to Daddy and Son.
A podcast where we explore the dynamics of daddy and son relationships, multi-generational views.
And everything else in between.
Welcome back to another episode of Daddy and Son.
Welcome, welcome.
My name is Alex.
And I'm Norm.
And I am Son.
And I am Daddy Norm. Or whatever you want to put in front of that. I've been called other things too, haven't I?
Okay.
Especially last week, but we won't go there.
Let's not.
No,
Let's not.
Let's not.
What did the Christmas carol say? Peace on earth and goodwill to all men.
Yes, and boys too.
And their sons. So this week is a Shoot Your Shit episode. And for those of you who are just joining us for the new year, welcome. Thanks for your listenership. On your Shoot Your Shit episodes, basically, we just talk about whatever is on our mind. We talk about hot topics, whatever is the latest.
Well, hot topics are always on our mind, or hot things are usually on our mind.
I mean...
Right? Well, on yours anyway.
On mine.
Yeah. Whoops.
But what else am I supposed to do? I'm a son. That's the story of my life at this time. That's what your 20s and your 30s are for.
You're quite right. There are certain things that you do at 35 that you don't do at 70.
Like?
Well, let's TM. We did the TMI session already, right?
All right, keep your secrets. How's your week been?
It's been a very interesting week. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do in my post-working life. So it's been up and down, you know.
And for the people who are they're first-time listeners, they're just listening, they're just jumping into this podcast. In fact, I checked last week and our podcast went up. We had 10 new listeners. Well, technically 9, but that statistics would have been from the week before. So we had 9 new listeners from the week before last.
That's great. I'm glad to see my recruitment efforts are paying off.
Sure. That's what it is.
I've had 2 notes this week from people that first listened to the podcast, and the reaction is good.
Well, there you have it. So, for those people who are just first-time listeners, let us know, what is it that you used to do before?
Oh, okay.
What was your?
Well, I worked in business. I worked as a lobbyist, government relations. I work in that field, and eventually certain jobs dry up, and right now I'm sort of out there, kind of doing a little bit of work, but I want to do a consulting gig and kind of stay in the same field. But as I said to you earlier before we went online, I'm now starting to look at volunteer opportunities because the paid work doesn't seem to be coming in the door.
And you can afford to volunteer and give back to the community. Whether that is in time, equity, etc.
Well, we all should be giving back to community when we can. You do a great job of that. You are a model. And I've done it too. I look back at my career. I mean, I helped start the Public Affairs Association of Canada. I worked for Pathways.
Were you paid? Were you paid?
No, it was volunteer work. Okay. I mean, I had a full-time job, but we wanted to set up an association for people that did the kind of work I did. That was in the 80s. I know, it's a long time ago. In fact, it was 40 years ago, which doesn't seem like that long ago to somebody my age, but we did it. And I've worked in tutoring for, high school students. I've been on a board, all volunteer work. And then I got busy doing work, and now it's time to do some more volunteer work, probably.
Nice.
And I should take a lesson from you.
What are you thinking about getting into now?
I want to do something that helps people.
Yeah, but what field?
Maybe some language coaching, career coaching. Citizenship preparation. That was one of the things on one of the boxes to check on one of the volunteer groups I looked at today. There's a lot of work out there that people could do that you would never even think of that people need. That's what's so I'm doing some exploring.
Yeah.
That's what you have to start. You have to start any new venture exploring. You have to educate yourself. You have to inform yourself what's out there and what grabs me.
Yeah.
Or what doesn't grab me. It's like being on the apps. Does the boy grab you or not? Does that interest you or not? If there's chemistry, you go after it. If there isn't, you try something else.
Well, it all depends on what he grabs.
Well, if he's worth grabbing, there'll be something to grab. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me.
I don't know where I come up with these lines, but they just pop into my head.
Well, it's years of experience. I'll chop it up to that.
Experience with what, my dear?
Don't
answer that. Don't answer that.
My week has been, honestly, I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's the increase in work that has been just thrown at me for the beginning of the year. I can't believe that January is done. I can't believe it. I'm just like, where did the time fly? And
we're a week away from Valentine's Day.
I know, and I'm tired.
We're the equivalent in the summertime of almost mid-August. When you start to think about the summer winding down.
When you start to see Canadians wearing short shorts and T-shirts outside to pump gas, and it's just like 1 degree, that's when they start chasing summer. That's when you know that we're on the brink.
Well, they do that in Florida at this time of year, but I haven't seen anybody doing that here.
Well, sorry to all the snowbirds that have been going down to Florida. Did you see what has been going on in Florida right now?
Well, they're starting to come back.
They've been getting a lot of snowstorms lately.
Oh, really?
Twice.
Well,
one just since this week.
Really? Well, in northern Florida, yeah.
Yeah,
Panhandle,
right at the border. It looks like a winter wonderland.
Well, there are going to be a lot of reasons why some of the snowbirds are going to say, I'm not sure I want to go down to Florida anymore or have property there. But that's another subject. We can get into that.
Oh my gosh. Did you see the comments online where people are like, this is what you get for fucking with Canada. We're giving you this snow as a retaliation for the tariffs.
Yes. I hadn't heard that, but that's not bad.
That had me cracking up.
Actually, the eastern seaboard of the United States has had almost a worse winter. Pennsylvania, New York, they've had more snow than we have. We hardly have any.
I know.
Our friends up north, now today there was a very bad snowstorm up near Lake Simcoe, Aurelia. There was a 50-car pileup. I mean, it was not good. In fact, I meant to record
Lake Simcoe, is that close to Muskoka?
Yeah, it's on the way to Muskoka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is actually. In fact, I'm going to record the news tonight because I want to see. I've driven along Highway 11. That's cottage country. That's on the way to cottage country.
But you're not going there. You're not driving that side in the winter, are you?
Never. But some people are, and some of them today don't have a car anymore. Too bad. I have a car.
I'll have you know, actually, so there's some good news that actually did come out of this week.
Oh, let's hear it.
I got my car back.
Yeah, it had to be repaired. No,
it was in a repair shop
because
it was vandalized.
Yeah, that's right. Oh God.
So I got it back on Tuesday, and I'm so happy to have my vehicle back. I'm so happy to be back in the modern times. Having a vehicle that drives itself, and all those nice things. I just felt like I was stuck in the Stone Ages, taking the streetcar and shit. So
you're not a TTC person, are you? No, you're not. I have another friend who will refuse to ride the TTC. Just you know who he is, my friend. Yes,
and I don't blame him. It's no. We shall not. 2025 is the year of reparations, and all black people deserve a soft life. We shall We shall not be putting ourselves through crowded spaces. We shall not be stacking up in streetcars and rush hour like sardines in a can, because we have post trauma from being stacked up in a slaver ship. So
I don't mind driving. I love driving. I have
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful car. I enjoy it. In fact, I just bought out the lease today, so this is
Congrats.
thank you. But
that's
it's
probably going to be your last car.
well, I don't. It might be. Depends how long I live.
How long do you expect to live? Let me know.
Only God knows that, and I'm not. And he's not
Like-
giving me any answers. So, but point being, Toronto's a hard city
Keep strong.
to drive in if you want to park downtown. So I don't try to drive in the city. You do. You don't
Yeah.
seem to mind parking and paying for parking. I don't. I'm a
If it's-
cheapskate.
If it's about maybe less than my rule of thumb is if parking is less than $5 of what it would cost for
PTC.
TTC
Yeah.
to and from my travel destination,
It's a deal.
it's a deal.
Yeah, I can buy that.
And
Okay.
so as a result, typically anywhere I'm going, the cost of parking is usually under $15. So because it's under $15, I will just eat that cost.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to the suburbs, like I went to the suburbs for lunch on Wednesday, very nice part of town. There was plenty of parking at this restaurant.
I
no
know.
worry.
This is why I like the boonies.
Yeah, I know. I have a friend that doesn't live too far from there. For those of you that know Toronto, up on the Don Valley Parkway, north of the 401, which is our big cross Canada highway. Speaking of which, did you hear that the Premier wants to build a tunnel underneath the 401? Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know the city of Toronto,
This is news to me.
the 401 is probably one of the most heavily traveled highways in North America. In fact, I saw statistics that it is, even more so than 405 in Los Angeles. That aside, even if it were number 2 or 3, it's a huge highway. There's probably 10 or 12 lanes in most cases. He wants to build a tunnel. This could take 20 years to do this.
And what would be the purpose of this tunnel?
Well, you tell me. I haven't got a clue. What would a tunnel underneath? Where when it comes out, where's it all going to end up?
And-
The same place where the other cars are. That's kind of self-defeating, isn't it?
I never heard this before.
That's on the regular news, the one that, the newspapers and the TV that you don't watch.
I mean, because it's fleeting. He probably just,
All news is fleeting.
it was
honey.
probably just a drinking conversation, and nothing will ever come of it.
He's in the campaign now.
Oh, is it?
Yes, he re-announced it today.
Well, I know that honestly, well, let me not say I know, but my predictions as per, the history of this show has proven that, I am usually right on these things. And I love to prove people right, that I'm right.
Well, this one is so far in advance, there's no point in even putting it on the table right now.
I don't know. I feel like he's definitely going to win again.
Oh, he is. Yeah, no, the polls are What's interesting, though, for those of you who are outside of Canada, you may have heard that there's a president now by the name of Trump in the White House who wants to, for some dumbass reason, put a 25% tariff on one of the most successful trading relationships in the world, which would screw everything up. And fortunately, the White House is getting the message from a lot of business groups in the U.S. that that's a dumbass idea. Please don't do it.
And from Canada, too.
And Canada, but Canada has no influence on this. It's Americans that are going to determine this, and they are now starting to realize this is bad. This is bad for us. And it is. But the funny thing is, it's re-energized politics here in Canada. Like you were saying before we went on air. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? We could have a Liberal government reelected.
I know.
It occurred to me
shocking.
today. I thought, oh no, that's horrible news. Put those tariffs on, Mr. Trump.
It's so quick. I've never seen someone like I went from on social media seeing everyone blaming Trudeau for the sun not rising. It rains. Fuck Trudeau. And then all of a sudden, this tariff war started and his approval ratings has just gone through the roof. I have not seen a single terrible comment about him on social media since.
Well, he's acting as a leader. That's what people want right now.
He really is.
You may not agree with everything he's doing, but at least he's, this is the one thing that pulls Canadians together is when you threaten us like the Americans are doing, and not the American. Let's face it, this is Trump. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's doing a whole lot of dumb things right now, but this is impacting us directly, and it really is it's re-energizing, and it's stirring up our politics.
I'd never thought I would actually see in 2025. This was not on my bingo card. When I see people writing on social media, on that again, nothing has changed in my algorithm, but I'm now seeing people talking about Frenchy PP, Pierre.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't heard that expression. French PP.
Frenchy PP.
Oh,
That's my nickname for him. Frenchy PP. So people are saying, oh, he's a Trump panderer. And I think a lot of that comes from him saying, oh, I promise to put severe jail time, life imprisonment for people with major fentanyl crimes. And we're like, sir.
well, that's not the worst criminality in this country.
Exactly. Like,
I mean, that's bad, but you know what? We need to put violent people in jail.
for something that is like less than 1%, sir, sit down.
You know, he's right. We need some criminal justice reform, but it's now looking, as you said, it looks like Trump, like a knee-jerk response.
Yeah, it's pandering, and I never thought that I would see people calling him out on it in this day and age. Granted, even I have been calling him out on certain things because I do think that he's promising. I do think that he's promising as a leader, but he's starting to remind me a lot of Jagmeet in the way that he approaches certain things, like he will be delivering a speech and he will say things like, oh, and by the way, oh yeah, so this person decides that they're going to be on the right side of history, but they're not going to sign it until they've gotten their pension. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Now, for those of you that may not know Canadian politics, Jagmeet is the leader of the NDP party, which is the official opposition right now, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And you were our House of Commons expert. I worked there one time, but I'm no longer the expert there. Anyway,
you're a resident insider, so spill the tea.
Well, it was a long time ago. And my office is currently being renovated along with the tower, the clock in the tower there in the center block.
You were there?
That was where my office was, yeah.
Wow.
I told you, I worked on Parliament Hill, my first job out of school.
Do you have any connections? Do you think you could get me a tour?
Not right now because it's shut down for construction.
What about after?
Well, I'm sure if you talk to your MP, I'm sure they could arrange it.
I guess.
Yes, that's how you do it through your MP.
Okay.
And of course, if you work for an MP, you can get it right away. Anyway, point being, we're in a crazy period right now, a confluence of very strange events, a provincial election in Ontario followed by a federal one probably in 3 months. Maybe. We thought for sure, but who knows right now. Yeah, that's really interesting times. And as we look outside, as you mentioned earlier, I see a very nice, it's a nice sunset. Well, I'm sure the sun is setting. It's a clear evening. It's not fully dark yet. Winter is slowly ebbing away.
It's slowly fading.
Yes.
And probably a little bit too quick because I don't feel like I've gotten a chance to use my season's pass for for the ski resort, but it is what it is.
Did you go last week?
I did not go last.
Well, it was.
Sorry,
too
I
cold.
did go last week. Yes, I did go last week.
You showed me I had no idea that skateboarding was such a.
Well,
Snowboarding. Well, remember when I grew up, you want to go down a hill, you got a toboggan. Now, do people know what a toboggan
I've never heard that word before.
You've never heard of a toboggan?
No.
Or a saucer? We had little saucers.
Yeah, no,
metal
saucers. You put it. You put your teacup on it.
No. This is a metal saucer, maybe about 4 feet in diameter, and you sit in the middle of it, and you put a little wax on the bottom of it, and you sail down the hill, and you go crashing into a tree or into each other.
Some really tiny aliens.
I can't believe you've never heard of the word toboggan. Anyway, when I lived in Quebec, lots of hills there in the eastern townships, lots of snow, big winters. that's what we used to do. The word snowboarding, nobody ever heard that word. Skiing, yes, for sure. But I was impressed what you had really neat, very high-tech equipment. It's a big investment to participate in winter, isn't it?
It is, but it is totally worth it. So much fun.
It looks like it would be fun. I mean, I almost think,
Keeps your core engaged.
wow.
Gives
Yeah,
me that nice little V cut.
yeah, because you've got it. You're twisting, and can you take lessons?
Yeah. I took lessons back in 2018, and that's when I first started.
And did you rent the equipment?
Then I rented the equipment, but after going two times, after my second class, I knew immediately I wanted to snowboard,
Okay.
and I went and I waited until
The sales came at the end of the year.
at the end of the
Perfect.
end of the winter season.
Yeah, exactly. The
And
end
I
of the winter
bought
season.
the latest gear from the previous year, and I've had that since. Yeah.
And it looked. I couldn't believe it. I thought, holy Hannah, this is.
It's good stuff.
Well, you know what? You've got me thinking. I mean, I used to play hockey. I used to toboggan, which we'll have to send you. I'll have to get you a picture of it. For those of you that don't, we want to hear from those who've never heard of a toboggan before.
Would you consider playing a sport again at your age? Even something that's low impact, like pickleball.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I'd even play hockey.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could play road hockey. I could even play ice hockey. I mean, I just haven't been on skates for a long time. But once you get, I used to do it.
At your age,
It's the
no
wind.
longer it's no longer falling. It's Norm took a fall. You may want to avoid that.
Honey, I have more trouble staying on my feet after 2 drinks in my kitchen. I don't think being on the rink would be any challenge for me.
You know what? I
What?
think this is a good point to take a break. We'll be right back. And we're back.
We're back.
Drinks refreshed
Yes.
and a little nuts down my throat.
Alex and Norm, here we are. Your podcast partners for Friday afternoon in Toronto. Daddy and son. We'll let you guess who's daddy and who's son.
Are you throwing shade? So, Norm, so you were just telling me, we were cross-chatting, you were telling me about a conversation that you were talking with a friend. I found it very interesting what his take was.
And I thought about this earlier, and I had a drink. A friend of mine I haven't seen for a few weeks, who's kind of a techie, and he does customer support for Apple. And so he's a real expert on Apple products and how to fix things. And if you've got a problem with your phone or your laptop, this is the guy to talk to. Well, he does it professionally for Apple. So he works from home because it's a virtual job.
Mm-hmm.
He hates the hours. He doesn't have a social life because he's working from 3 to 11 most days. Thursday and Friday off. Not exactly a great social life on those hours. But he was talking about the difference between Canadians and Americans asking for customer service. And he said, a long time ago, he said to me, Norm, you got to remember that we want to help you. We want to help people. But some people get on the phone and think you're their enemy. But what he did say interesting yesterday was he finds that Canadians are much more willing to accept help than Americans are, as a
Yeah.
generalization.
Yeah. Oftentimes when I know for myself particularly,
Yeah.
when I call customer service, I find sometimes like I'm so angry, especially if I've been waiting.
Customer service, like for generally or for a particular company?
Typically for any, like in general.
Okay.
Eh,
Okay.
In general.
Yeah. If you've
And
been
I'm-
waiting.
and I've been waiting for a very long time.
Yeah.
And for those of you who you know when you've been waiting for a long time and that song comes on, you know the song I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that that
oh yeah.
banger.
It's so bloody annoying. Yeah.
And by the time, like 40 minutes later, when somebody comes on, I'm so combative. I'm extremely combative. Like, I'm ready to fight.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. What is your name, please? Can I help you?
Like, bitch, you know how long I've been here. But honestly, it's gotten to the point now where I think it's something about being in my 30s where now I am my mode of thinking has changed. Where I'm just like, imagine what it's like on that person's feet. So now when I approach these conversations and they ask what I'm doing today, I'll not lie. I'll say I'm not doing great. I'll say I am frustrated, but I won't take it out on them. And I oftentimes will pause and I'll remind them, I know this is not your fault.
Yes. And they've been dealing with bitchy people for the last 2 hours. And you have a chance to reverse that and get on their good side and maybe get them to do something for you that they might not have otherwise.
And I was going to say that. It has helped.
Yes.
It has helped.
When you're nice to people.
So the other day when I was trying to switch over, and they have no need to be helpful to me because I'm switching over from Fido to Rogers, and they have no need to be helpful to me, right? My telecommunications provider. I'm coming off their service, and
is it Fido? Who runs Fido? Is it a Bell or is
TELUS?
It's a TELUS reseller. Okay.
And they said to me that, okay, what we're going to do is adjust your bill because my bill came up to be more than it usually was, more than double.
Oh, wow.
And I said, this doesn't make any sense. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be amended, especially because I switched over before the billing period had ended. So if anything, I should be getting an adjustment.
Yep.
And she said, okay, I'll look into that. Don't worry.
Even though they were losing you as a customer.
Even though they're losing me as a
now,
customer.
forgive me, but didn't Rogers buy TELUS?
Did they?
I think so.
Maybe.
They're trying to. Yeah.
I think they're trying to. I don't think they did.
Okay. Anyway, so you're dealing with a customer service person who's actually willing to help you, even though they're going to lose your business.
But here's the thing. Nothing happened. So I called back again.
Oh, okay.
And the next person I was speaking to, I was frustrated because the bill came back again.
I'm so sorry, sir. Let me see if I can fix this.
It's literally that. And I'm annoyed. I am so annoyed. And I get to the point where I just had to say, listen, I know this is not your fault. This has nothing to do with you. But this is the situation that has happened. This is what has happened. I just want things to be fair. I just want to get out your hair and you get out and we just go our separate ways and everybody's happy.
But you were willing to explain the situation, the problem you were having to the agent, and they were listening.
I realized a lot of people, they don't have that patience. They blow up.
Or they refuse to answer the questions, as in my friend's case when he said, sir, can I help you? And one guy said, well, you're with Apple. You should know my problem.
I'm tech support, not a soothsayer.
And finally, he said, well, thank you very much for calling Apple, sir. Goodbye. Click. And the supervisor backed him up. Imagine expecting somebody to solve your problem when you don't tell them the problem.
I like that. Supervisors need to start supporting their customer service reps more often.
Because they're taking a lot of shit.
They are taking the blunt of or what my late mom used to like to say, the shitty end of the stick.
You know what? There's a rule for people when you have a problem, and I had one this week. I had to call Scotiabank and Scene Plus. They're a partner with, and I couldn't get into my Scene account, and I didn't know what was going on. I spent 10 or 15 minutes on the phone with this lady whose English was pretty good, but not 100%. So we had some communication issues. Mm-hmm. But I was patient, and I stuck with her, and we ended up solving the problem, and I ended up realizing I can get $500 of credit of Shell gift cards.
Oh.
Because I took the time to listen, and she explained it, and I realized, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And problem fixed. But the reason I did that is this friend of mine who does the customer service says, Norm, the people on the other end want to help the customer. Why do people not think they want to help you? Why don't people want to answer the question, here's my problem?
I think it's the HR mentality, like the customer service rep. You know, people say HR serves two masters.
If I had a problem,
You and the corporation, I think it's the same thing.
they think that the company, they're
The
mad at the
customer
company.
service rep is on the side of the company,
Yeah.
and not on your side.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. And they automatically assume they're going to try to screw me or make it hard for me to solve the problem.
Oh yeah.
But so I asked him, well, what do you say to people when you come on the line? And he said, hi, how are you? My name is so-and-so. I'm here to help you with your problem. What is your name? I'm not going to tell you my name. Oh, really? Well, how am I going to help you? So anyway, I just thought it was curious that there's a cultural difference between Canadians and Americans in terms of customer service. And you know what? They're our neighbors. We love Americans. We need to work with them.
Well, you do.
I do. I have good friends who are in the States. I've got a lot of it. You have friends across the pond. Mine are across the Niagara River. Well, not exactly.
Yours
Niagara.
are across the lake.
They're not exactly in Niagara Falls, New York. Trust me. But no, I grew up traveling to the States every now and then. I remember the days you could fly to New York for $19 on People Express out of Buffalo. Well, you had to go to
Not
Buffalo.
anymore.
Well, then it went up to $29. That was really expensive. No, it's not like that anymore. And
Not anymore.
People Express has gone poof.
And the Air Canada flight from Billy Bishop to New York is more expensive than flying from here to Halifax. That is crazy.
Are you sure? Usually it's cheaper going to the States sometimes. Cross Canada rates are very expensive. Anyway, I haven't priced going to New York lately, but Javi, it's so expensive in New York. Who could expense the hotel 2
Who's
nights?
going?
I'm not going to New York.
Who's going?
I'm not.
Besides, message to all Canadians. Right
Mm-hmm.
now we're boycotting.
We're staying in Canada. We're traveling. We're going to Banff or Quebec or Vancouver
or Vancouver. Exactly. We're supporting domestic tourism.
Flin Flon, Manitoba apparently has very nice water.
Allegedly.
Yes, it's ice covered at the moment, but it does get better eventually.
And we are buying Canadian. We are showing the girlies that we can be more sufficient, and as everyday consumers. I think that's the final topic that I want to close on today, because I want to kind of go into what are some of the things that you usually buy in your pantry. This is kind of like my little wellness segment.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you usually buy on a regular day-to-day basis? Like, let us say that in the next 21 days, 22 days, the tariffs do happen, right?
I don't think
because
they
it was.
I don't. Here's a prediction. I don't think the tariffs are going to happen.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I think the message is going to get very clear to the United States, to the White House, that Mr. Trump, let's move on.
And if it doesn't happen, do you think this will be the Republicans making a victory lap? Do you think they're actually getting a message?
I think what will happen is the stock market will go up another 100 points, and that I'll have money to go to Europe later this year. I'm quite serious. Actually, my portfolio hasn't gone down that much as a result of all this confusion. But
Really?
But to your point about, I think you're right. People are now, I'm even starting to think, although I confess, on Monday when I thought the tariffs were coming down, I rushed out to the LCBO to get California wine. So, but now I will be national.
Not Kentucky bourbon?
Now that I'm not a bourbon fan anyway. I'm more of a Scotch fan. But I do like bourbon. I get it when I go to the States.
Pinky up in the air.
Yeah. But we are noticing now more, where's the product coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And is there a Canadian substitute?
Yeah.
And can I buy Canadian rather than American? I think that's good.
Yeah.
I
think it's a really good conversation that everybody's having right now. So much so to the point that the other day I was actually going to No Frills right out here, and there was cameras set up, like the news people were out there. I don't know who it was. I think it was CP24, and they were interviewing shoppers, asking, what were you buying today? Were you being more domestic conscious?
I bought Canadian bananas. Well, exactly. So here's my question.
No. But the thing is, my strategy is, I will support international commerce as long as it's not from the U.S.
Well, fair enough. Unless there's no reasonable alternative. And remember, our fight.
Then that leads to my next question: what would be a case in like an everyday scenario, like a day-to-day scenario? So I'm not talking about like my vehicle that just got vandalized and I had to bring it to the shop. And I drive a Mustang, which is an American Ford is an American company, so the parts has to come from the U.S., right? Because they had to replace the electronic panel.
Well, some parts of that car are from the U.S., some are from Canada.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The cars go back and forth across the border. I read a carburetor can go back 3 or 4 times before a car is finally assembled.
Yeah, I read that too. Yeah.
But in this case, they were American sourced. Okay.
So there at some point, possibly, a part had to come from the U.S.
Sure.
Fine.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking about an everyday situation.
You mean the stuff you buy at the grocery store?
Like the stuff you buy at the grocery store, the stuff you buy at the Eaton Center.
Oh, well, let's talk about the grocery store. Milk, eggs, bread. That's all Canada, right? We're not going to buy ketchup. Ketchup or U.S. or Canada. What about macaroni and cheese? I don't know. Like, I got a question. What does made in Canada versus produced in Canada mean? Are there differences? And is all the product produced? Is it all it might be assembled in Canada, but some of it may have come from the States. It's like cars. Some food is like cars. It's the inputs come from overseas. They come from the U.S. They come from any number of places, and they're assembled here and they're produced in Canada.
Some food is like cars. That's the name of today's episode.
Oh boy.
Some food is like cars.
Well, but you know what I mean? I mean, how do we know what we're buying? How do we know what we're getting? We don't really know. But there's more awareness of it now than there was before.
There is. And I've been doing a lot of deep dive, even like looking at Kirkland brand. Because I'm going to be honest, I stand Costco. I stand Costco, especially after they decided to stand 10 toes deep into keeping their DEI policy.
Oh, you support them.
So I support them, yeah.
Well, I was there the other day, and there's a lot of people that do. Yeah, well.
I thought that was smart, especially since Sam's Club decided to do away with theirs, Walmart decided to do away with theirs. So what's going to end up happening is a lot of the POCs are now going to end up going to Costco to get their Costco memberships and getting their stuff.
You know what? I'm not a big DEI fan per se, but I'm absolutely a fan of diversity.
I know, because
I'm a fan of diversity. I know that it works. It's important, but it doesn't have to be the end all and be all of what guides your corporate ethos.
Why not?
Because
Sidebar.
The bottom line should be companies have got to make money for their shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe in diversity, and I go back to this conversation I had on a plane in business class, I might add, going to Barbados a few years ago, a major Canadian bank, the International Division, I won't identify the bank because I don't want to embarrass them, but I was sitting beside the vice president of the International Division of this major Canadian bank. And I said, what is it that you look for in the people you are recruiting? And I'm sitting there thinking about ideas for my next article, as you know. And he said, we're looking for diversity. We're looking for diversity in terms of background, racial, cultural, linguistic, educational. We're also looking for diversity in terms of what young people did aside from their schooling. Were they involved in their community? Did they do volunteer work? And he said, we find a diverse background, a diverse workforce is the most productive and useful. And you know what? Bingo, they've got it. That was well before DEI became a buzzword.
But that is literally what DEI is.
Well, then I support it.
The only difference between having DEI as the only difference between DEI as what we know it today, because I think it has been bastardized by the radicalist right wing. The only difference between what that gentleman said, or gentleman.
It was a man.
What that gentleman said and what exists today is that man has basically taken that mandate and made it policy.
Yeah. And I suspect,
And that's
And-
what DEI is.
and
It's taking that mandate and making it policy,
And I will
so
have-
that people who are criminals, people who are unqualified, people who have never had a position in this line of work before, that people who otherwise wouldn't be considered for the opportunity because maybe they didn't go to an Ivy League school, or maybe people who wouldn't have been considered for the opportunity because they don't have the official, what we like to say, the paper, like they don't have the degree, but they have more certificates.
it's holistic look. It's looking holistically at people's background. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I buy that.
That
I
is
buy
what
that.
DEI is.
No, but I don't totally agree with that because I
what
find
do you not agree with?
DEI also is a way of excluding people
How so?
because it tends to exclude a lot of white men.
No. How it? Show me.
I can't show you. I can't. I honestly can't.
I always say this to people when they say it excludes white men. I always say, show me one industry, just one, where it's predominantly ran by any other group of people than cis, white, straight men.
Well, banking sure is.
Go on. Like, I'll wait. I've got time. Go on.
Well, we only have so many minutes here on our podcast.
Exactly. There's no DEI is put in place so that other people can have opportunities. It's not put in place to exclude anybody. And it never has excluded anybody.
Well, that is where the right wing of U.S. politics would disagree with you. With
Because of
respect,
misinformation.
or misapplication of a policy.
Explain misapplication. Because this, to me, comes off as one person maybe didn't get a job because somebody else who is more qualified than them, but is either maybe speaks multiple languages, or somebody who's more qualified than them but is a woman, somebody who's more qualified than them but is gay, somebody who is more qualified than them but is Asian, black, or brown,
Or maybe they're more qualified than those people.
got the job, and or somebody who is more qualified or has the same qualifications as them, but also has experience working in multiple other community level organizations, or again, somebody has the
Or
same
you're identifying your own profile.
somebody
I
who
gather.
has the same qualifications as them but speak 4 other languages.
Okay,
and
they-
they feel salty because
say
they
a
feel
person-
like I'm a white man and I'm American, so I should have gotten the job.
They say that a person that does the most talking wins the argument. I concede. You always manage to bring us back to this subject, don't you? I know how you do that. But
No, I'm
But-
not bringing you back to the subject.
what's happening though
it
is
was a
we're
quick sidebar.
seeing a cultural churning right now in U.S. and Canada, aren't we? That's what's really going on. That's raising this profile of DEI. But I go back to the fact that I believe in diversity. I do.
You believe in diversity, but you don't believe in DE as a policy.
I don't believe that it should be always looking for the minority to fill a job. That's what I think of DEI,
But
the way it's
DEI
applied.
But DEI is not applied that way.
Well, it is in some instances, and is perceived as being applied in that, and that's why it's unpopular.
But
in
again,
certain-
this is why I ask people to show me an instance in which DEI is used, where
Comrade.
it only
Comrade.
seeks for minority groups.
We
That's
make-
not the point of DEI. The point of DEI is to apply. In fact,
Mr. Trump is not interested in providing examples,
as
and neither is the rest of the world who
as
opposes that.
someone who is
How is it that you have more?
because I've been talking.
That's true.
As
As usual.
as someone who has benefited from DEI, I can tell you that DEI.
You didn't benefit from DEI. You benefited because you were capable and you excelled.
Exactly.
DEI had nothing
But
to do with
doesn't-
it.
But even though I've benefited from DEI, I'm the only black person in my entire engineering team.
So the question is, where are the non-white folks? Did they not get the education? Did they not?
Everybody else is
Did
white.
did they not seek those roles? Did they not counsel? Did they not think about those career paths?
Everybody else is white. In a team of 60 plus people, I
That's-
am the only black person in the room.
Yeah, that's
and
stupid.
I was a beneficiary of DEI. The point is that
That-
DEI
fair-
provides DEI is a policy that says that we are going to be conscious
Okay, fair enough.
about recruiting people
From other
from other diverse
from,
groups.
from all diverse groups. So the question is, why is that not happening in your organization? What has gone into the recruitment process that's led to?
No,
Very
it is-
interesting question. I don't know the answer.
And that's why when people say DEI is, simply looking for this, again, I will ask the question without getting a
Cite me-
sardonic answer.
Yeah.
Give me an example, because if people are going to say something exists and something is applicable, then you must be able to point to an example
Okay.
or a case study or a case scenario in which this exists. And the truth is, it doesn't.
Well, in your
It's a dog whistle.
in your company case, I would say,
Don't bring my
what's
company
wrong?
into this.
Well, or any company that has that kind of a profile, you say, what have you not done here? There have to be skilled people of multi-ethnic backgrounds and languages and cultures that have skills, who live in this country, whether it's the U.S. or Canada, that can be part of your team. What have you done in terms of recruiting them? Have you been getting applications? Are you talking to the colleges and universities that train people like this? What is your outreach? Because if diversity is a good thing, you're missing the boat. Am I
here's-
right?
Well, here's the thing. Also, in my field, there's also generally, I will go to a conference like Sector or B-Sides or DEF CON, and the truth of the matter is there's also not a lot of black representation in tech.
You know what? When I was in most of the industries I've worked in, with the exception of transit, were pretty white. I mean, the construction industry, the white,
The
very
aggregate
white,
community, yeah.
very white. IT, now IT was back in the 80s and 90s. We were still pretty white then. I don't know what it's, but today I'm sure it's very mixed. I have to believe that today.
Well, I'm not talking about IT in general is pretty mixed, but I'm talking
your
about
cybersecurity.
cybersecurity
Yeah.
specifically. Correct.
And I know somebody, by the way, my friend who does this Apple customer service, that's the field he's a man of color. He wants to get into that field.
Well, and I will encourage him. I always
you-
encourage.
Would you be willing to talk to him about that background?
Absolutely.
That's great. That's
we
the kind of thing that
need
needs to happen.
More black and brown people in this field, especially not only in cybersecurity but in AI development and research. We need it's a dire need. We need a representation
Because
We
it's
need-
people skills, it's human skills, it's intellectual skills. Anybody of any color
we need
is
those
capable of
voice-
doing it.
It's bigger than that, Norm. It's
Mm-hmm.
bigger than that. When you have AI programs that are literally programmed, machine learning is programmed to be racist.
Oh,
It
that's
is-
another topic right there.
It is
right?
a whole. It is, and
That
there
is-
is a need, and oftentimes it's not because the developer is intending for it to be racist, but it's because it's only been learning. It's the information that it's gathering.
It's the default because that's the
The
ego.
LLM
Garbage
is
in, garbage out.
complete From it's only from one side. There is
Yeah.
a need for development and research from all different walks of life in all different languages, all different sexes and backgrounds.
Are you familiar with the term GIGO? Garbage in, garbage out. Garbage
Never heard
out.
it before.
Well, that was the IT. Now it's WeGo. White garbage in, white garbage out. And on that note, I just made that up.
And on that note, bye, Canadian. For those of you who are listening that are Canadians, please support your local economy. Go through your pantry, see what you get that is usually, U.S. based, and see if you can get the Canadian version. So instead of buying Hanes, buy Frenchies. Instead of buying Charmin, buy the Kirkland brand, or or buy Royale.
Royale.
If it sounds British or French, it's probably Canadian.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Anything else you'd like to tell the
Well,
people?
I'm glad to know the back end is taken care of.
We as a powerful bottom, not a power bottom.
Well, that's
as
important.
a powerful bottom.
Well, when buying toilet paper, that's very important.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've made it all the way to the end, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Daddy and Son. If you have any questions for the show or for Norm, send them over to daddyandsonpodcast@gmail.com. That's DADDYANDSON podcast@gmail.com. Until next time, sons, be good to your daddies.
And daddies, be kind to your sons.